I rise today to speak to the evolving situation in the Middle East. I have grave concerns, as do a majority of Americans, with the President's handling of the current situation in that region of the world. Under this President's watch, the world has become increasingly unsafe. Under this President's watch, despots have dug in, and the most horrific terrorist organization we've ever seen has risen to power and thrived. This week, the reality of this failure was brought to the forefront of the world's attention. The fall of Ramadi marks the capture of another major city. Mr. President, we lost more than 1,300 U.S. soldiers in Anbar province. Thousands more were wounded. We fought across every foot of Al-Anbar, and now a handful of ISIS fighters have seized its provincial capital. For those in Ramadi, this wasn't just a setback. This cost them everything. Hundreds have already been executed at the hands of ISIS. But the White House doesn't see it that way. The White House has tried to spin a different narrative, downplaying the significance of this defeat, and when this narrative is challenged, the White House doubles down. The White House press secretary said, and I quote, "Are we going to light our hair on fire every time that there is a setback in the campaign against ISIL?" End quote. Such comments are dumbfounding and disturbing. The Obama administration is not only demonstrating a complete lack of situational awareness, but a total disconnect with how this conflict is being viewed by the rest of the world. In fact, this week, President Obama chose to lecture the graduating class of the Coast Guard Academy about climate change, while Ramadi burned. To ISIS combatants in Syria and Iraq, the fall of Ramadi was a definitive victory. Even if it hands Ramadi back tomorrow, ISIS has shown it still has the capability to make major advances. And to those living in Ramadi, ISIS has already won. Regardless of what happens next, for many of those people, their lives have been destroyed. To potential recruits around the world, ISIS just won again, despite U.S. airstrikes and 3,000 trainers for the Iraqi army. However, according to Secretary of State John Kerry, the fall of Ramadi was only ISIS taking advantage of, and I quote, "a target of opportunity," end quote. Does the Obama administration not understand how terrorist organizations operate? ISIS isn't going to line up and go toe-to-toe with the United States. It is going to seek out targets of opportunity wherever it can and avoid conflicts where it knows it will lose. That's how they operate. That's how it's been operating since the beginning of this conflict, all the way back to January of 2014, when President Obama referred to ISIS as the junior varsity of terrorist organizations. Ramadi can be retaken. America can defeat ISIS. But we can't beat ISIS with half measures while consistently underestimating its capabilities. This terrorist organization must be stomped out. It must be defeated. In Syria, ISIS is now in control of Palmyra, an ancient site with irreplaceable monuments that may soon be destroyed. Called the Venice of the Sands, this may be yet another historical scar left by ISIS that will never heal. Mr. President, President Obama often speaks of regional powers needing to step up and take the lead. Well, let's just be honest here for a moment. The United States has the most powerful military in the history of the world. If our president doesn't show a little leadership, no one else is going to step up and lead. If we are not going to utilize our overwhelming technological superiority to fight this enemy, at the very least, embedding spotters with Iraqi forces to make airstrikes more effective, why would others want to contribute their far more limited resources? We need our president to show absolute conviction that defeating ISIS is his #1 priority. Not trying to reach a mediocre compromise on an Iranian nuclear deal, not having Secretary Kerry fly to Sochi to shake hands with Putin while he still occupies the territories of other countries, not a summit at Camp David to lecture our allies on what America thinks is in their best interests. There is a terror organization killing people as we speak in a country that we fought to liberate from a brutal dictator. We had won in Iraq. We had defeated this insurgency until it was determined for political reasons that we should pack up and go home. The President claims he doesn't want to get dragged into another prolonged war. Well, unfortunately, that is exactly what he is doing. There is no way to beat ISIS with half measures. There is no way to negotiate with ISIS. Unless ISIS is defeated, it will grow and spread like a cancer. This president, throughout his administration, has shown himself to be crippled by indecision. Against ISIS, we need decisive action, and we need it now.